Chapter. All right. Let's talk about brows, baby. Brows are always one of my favorite parts about doing my makeup. I have been blessed with nice bushy Italian brows that I got from my mother. I don't know, I've always just loved playing around with them, and having a sleek brow, like a good brow, just makes me feel like, like I can conquer the day, I can conquer the world, like my brows are on fleek, don't fuck with me. Okay, that's how a good brow makes me feel. In today's video, I am basically just going to show you a very in-depth tutorial on how I do my brows. It's actually a very simple process for me, but a lot of you guys always ask me about my brows and how that I do them and what products I use and all that kind of fun stuff. Yeah, let's just zoom you guys in a little closer and dive right into it. All right, so I brought you guys in all the way as close as I can. So I already have my base on. Brows are always my second step for me. So first I do my foundation, concealer, powder, and then I do my brows. That's just the way I like to do it. I feel like I can't navigate putting on foundation if I do my brows first. Like I feel like I'm just gonna mess them up. So I always do them after I finish my base. So the products that I use are the only brow product that I use, really. I've tried tons of other brow products, and this is just the one that I keep going back to. It just works well for me. It performs well. It's easy to use for me personally. I know other people can have difficulties with it, but that is a brow pomade. I love a good brow pomade. This one specifically is by Anastasia Beverly Hills, and right now I use the color Soft Brown. I have a bunch of different colors and I kind of fluctuate back and forth depending on what my hair is doing. I used to frequently change the undertone and the color and all that kind of stuff, so I had a couple of these on hand, but I love this stuff. And the brush that I use with the dip brow is actually the one from Anastasia as well. This is such a good angled brush. Like both the brush and the spoolie on this is just, it's good. It's prime. I suggest these. This is what I use. And the other products that I use, and we'll get into the detail of all of them later, but I do use a clear brow gel. This is also from ABH, and I will use a concealer to clean up any mistakes that I've made. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty of this. Before you even go in with product, you want to make sure that your eyebrows are groomed and shaped. This is a very important part to achieving a good brow. If your brows don't have any shape, and if they're all over the place and not making any sense, it's really hard to get a good brow out of that, because you need to see the shape of your brow and how you want to fill them. And I don't even know if I'm making sense, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like they need to have a good shape to them. Like if you just have hairs all over the place and like you don't know where you're going, one can look all wonky and the other one could be cool. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So yeah, I always suggest grooming your brows. You can do them yourself or you can get them professionally done. I have done both in my life. I used to get them waxed and threaded for long times at different points in my life, and now I just do them myself. I feel like that I have a pretty good idea of what I'm doing and the shape that I want, and so I feel comfortable doing them myself. I do use tweezers, I use scissors, I use blades, I use all different types of stuff to get in there with my brows, but that is just what I'm comfortable doing. So if you are not comfortable doing your own brows, then I suggest you go to a professional to get them shaped. So once your brows are shaped and good to go, I typically tweeze mine like every other day to every day, depending on if I'm doing makeup, if I'm sitting down in front of my mirror and I see that it needs to get plucked, but I do keep up with my brows a lot. They are maintenance. Hair grows back fast. You need to cut the hair, you need to tweeze the hair, so I do keep up with them quite frequently, and that helps me keep the shape perfect. For my actual brows, we're gonna work on my left one because my left one is always so much better than my right one. This one just has like a better shape. For some reason, I feel like everyone has that, like has a good brow and a bad brow, or like a good eye and a bad brow, good eye and a bad eye. Like my left is always much better. What I'm first gonna do is take my spoolie, and if you're using a brow pencil, most of them come with a spoolie, or you can just have one separately. Still do this step. I'm going to go in and kind of brush my hair upward. And this, I'm just making sure that I don't have any rogue hairs, you know, nothing that I need to cut or tweeze. Perfect. Okay, so the only product that I use is Dip Brow. I have done it tons of different ways. I used to use pencils and powders and all that kind of stuff, but for me, Dip Brow is just what works. I'm able to manipulate the product and still get that gorgeous ombre, and I'm going to show you guys how I do that, but this is the only product that I use. So this is what we were going to be using for this tutorial. So I'm going to dip my brush into the pomade, and I'm only gonna pick up a very, very small amount because this product is very pigmented and you can definitely get Sharpie brows real quick if you are not careful. So I'm going to dip into this, and I like to also like clean the sides of my brush off. I just kind of like wipe the sides off just so I have like a nice sharp situation going on. Anytime I pick up product on my brush, because this is a very pigmented product, I always put my brush on the outer part of my brow first, because the way that I do my brows, I like to ombre them. So meaning they are lighter in color towards the front of my brow and darker in color towards the tail of my brow. So if I go in and I have too much product on my brush and I didn't realize it or something like that, the last thing I want to do is go in right at the beginning of my brows and be like, ugh, and then have that be too much, and then you can't really blend it out because it's kind of there. So I always start at the outer portion of my eyebrow, kind of towards the tail, and I'll work that first, and then you'll see I slowly bring in color to the front. So I just kind of place my brush, and essentially what I do with my brows is I kind of create a defined line at the bottom, going all the way at the bottom, and then I create a defined line, kind of half of the brow, half of the top of the brow, and then I'll go in and fill in. That's kind of like the method that I use when I fill in my brows. So I'm just taking very small amounts of product and just gently stroking that in, just following the natural shape of my brows that I already have. Then I will bring the line all the way up to the front. And I'm not super worried if this line isn't absolutely perfect, because I do go in with concealer and clean it up anyway. All right, so now you can see we have that bottom line nice and good. It's nice and dark. You can kind of see the outline of where the brow is going to go. So now we're going to move on to the top. So again, I'm just very slightly just like tapping my brush into this product and making sure I wipe off the excess. So I'm really not using a lot. I'd rather go back in and dip into the product a bunch of times than have too much product and then be screwed and have Sharpie brows, because that's not a cute look. So again, we're starting at the tail end right here. So you just want to work in very small increments. Like, instead of going in and just drawing one big line, I kind of like sketch it in. And as I get closer to the front of my brow, I am not using as much pressure. So I'm just very lightly sketching on some of that product. And then as I get back here, you can see I'm kind of like adding more pressure because I want it to be darker on the tail. All right, so this is the shape that we have going on now here, and now we are going to fill it in and blend it all together. So with no additional product on my brush, just what I have left on here, I am going to go ahead and kind of fill in this tail, just the tail section for now. All right, now your spoolie is your best friend. So all I do really is I take my spoolie and I'll just run it through my brows and just kind of blend everything out so it doesn't look chunky, and it kind of brings the product all the way through the brows. Now, just using my spoolie, no additional product or anything, I'm going to bring that to the front of my brows and spoolie through them. Because when we were just spoolieing through our brows, we picked up additional product throughout our brows. It's almost, think of it like a blending brush, like you're going through and blending your eyeshadow, but a spoolie blends out your pomade. So it is picking up some additional product within the spoolie, so I just kind of go in and lightly spoolie the front, which applies, you can see, applied some color. And now you can see that ombre effect, that gradient that we've been going for. Now what I do is I kind of look in my mirror, I analyze my brows, where I need to fill in, and then I will worry about the front. So I'm gonna go back in and kind of touch up some spots, touch up the shape and the tail, just make sure everything's good. So now let's talk about the front of your brow. So for the front of your brow, you want to go as light-handed as possible. Please take your time on this, because this is when you can get Sharpie brows really quick. So my spoolie is what I'll use the majority of the time. I'll bring it through, bring it back through here and kind of spoolie it out. And that does a really good job, as you can see, of kind of achieving that ombre. But I do need to go in and kind of blend it out just a little bit. So no additional product on this brush, just what's on there. I will go in and kind of flick towards and following that my hairs where they kind of naturally grow and naturally fall, and then go back through, use the spoolie and blend everything. All right, so this is what we have for the brow so far, so you can see the comparison. So the shape is still the same, because like I said before, you want to go in before you even touch any brow products. You want to make sure you have a good brow shape. So you can see that the shape is very similar, but we just filled it in and gave it a nice gradient on this side. So this brow is looking a little wonky, looking a little dirty, a little messy, so this is where we're going and clean up our brows. What I do for this is I just take a little bit of concealer. I love using Tarte Shape Tape because it's a very high coverage concealer and it works really well. So what I'll do is just take the tiniest bit of this and kind of put it on the back of my hand, just a little bit, so I have some product to work with. And I will take a brush like this one. This is a flat top synthetic brush. This is a Morphe E43. This is great for carving under your eyes. I also used to use brushes like this, something that's a little bit more of a paddle brush. You could definitely use this as well. Sometimes I will actually go in with both, depending if I feel like I need more of a curve or more of a flat, but this is typically the brush that I go in with. So I'm going to dip into the concealer, and we're just basically gonna outline our brows and clean them up. And we're just gonna blend that concealer down. Okay, and if I do mess up on the upper part of my tail, I like to go in with a very, very small amount of concealer, if any, sometimes just what's ever left over on my brush, and I will very lightly clean that up. I don't like to completely carve out both the top and bottom of my brows, because sometimes I feel like it can look a little like blocky, if that makes sense, especially if you're using a lighter concealer. And also, if you've already done your base like I have and set everything, you don't want to go in with another liquid on top of your powder and then ruin your base. So I try to be really careful when I'm filling in my brows to really perfect the top, and then I can clean up the bottom. But if I do have a little bit of a mistake, which is totally fine, it happens, I'll go in with that same brush and just very lightly, as close to my brows as possible, just kind of clean that up. Okay, so that is what we have for the brow. The last step to my brows is that I always, I can't emphasize always more, use a brow gel. I have very long brow hairs, so if I don't use a brow gel, they will go everywhere. They will not stay like this. So it's really important to use a brow gel to make sure that you've set everything in place, and you can also kind of play with your brow hairs and kind of put them more where you want them, if that makes sense. So like on a day, if I want more of a wispier brow, I'll pretty much do the same thing, give or take a little bit, and I'll go in with my gel and kind of wisp my hairs more upwards, or if I want a more clean brow, I'll keep them just kind of in where I filled, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go in with the ABH Clear Brow Gel. I've been using this. I've been using all these brow products ever since I first started doing makeup, and they're beyond my favorite. It's just my preference. I've used tons of other ones. Benefit is great. Anastasia Beverly Hills is great. NYX at the drugstore has really good stuff. So you just have to find what works for you. So I'm just going to go through, and I want to carefully go through my brow hairs. I don't want to go in crazy with this because this does pick up the product. It is wet, and it's going to pick up the product, and you could potentially rub it all over your skin if you're not careful with it. So I am just going to stay within the filled in section and make sure I coat all those hairs nicely, especially the tail, because those ones always go rogue for me. And then I'll kind of play with where I actually want to set them. All right, guys, and that is one brow all completed. I'm going to quickly do the other one off of camera, and I will be right back. Alrighty, guys, that is both eyebrows all complete. I am having a good brow day. These brows look good today. I feel like I can conquer the world. I can take on my day. I have a fierce brow. I am good to go. Alrighty, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this in-depth tutorial on how I do my brows. If you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos just like this one. All of my information for my social media will be down below, so let's be friends. Come say hi, and I will see you guys in my next video. Mwah! Bye.